Welcome to the Car Dealership Podcast. Today's guest is someone I've long admired. Best-selling author, global keynote speaker, and customer experience visionary, Steven van Belleghem. We dive into the future of customer experience, the real potential of AI, and what all of this means for car dealerships. Hi, Steven. Welcome to the Car Dealership Podcast. What an honor to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Martin. Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
With pleasure. Thank you very much. So for those listeners who don't know you yet, who is Steven van Belleghem?
Well, in the past almost 25 years, I've been studying customer behavior, very often linked to technology, but also linked to what kind of culture in a company that can drive the business growth, how to make customers happy. So basically, I've been focusing on customer behavior for more than 25 years. First 12 years, or almost 14 years, I've done that in a research environment, first a business school, then a private research firm. After that, I started to focus on my own inspirational work. I wrote books when I was still working in the research world, and those books took off quite well. And because of that, I ended up in the speaker circuit and in the inspirational circuit. And then I decided to focus on that. I started Nexxworks together with Peter Hinzen and Rick Vera. About 10 years ago with Nexxworks, we organize inspiration trips for executives, and we take them to inspirational places, show them companies, and let them really see and taste and smell the innovation power from those cities and those companies. I've written about 6 books about customer experience. I've written 3 thrillers about the future, technology thrillers. I live in Belgium, close to Bruges, married for more than almost 25 years, and we have 2 boys, 14 and 16. So yeah, that's about it.
So married 25 years and also studying customer experience 25 years.
Yeah.
So is that what made you pick that topic? What sparked the interest to move into the customer experience world?
It's only later that I realized that it's probably thanks to my parents. They had a photography store when I was a child and a teenager, and we lived there. So I saw them working with clients. Every time when we had lunch, they talked about their customers, and it was also always about trying to do the extra thing and to do an extra effort to make people happy. And that was the core of how they were successful with their store. And I heard that every single day. So for me, that was like the most normal thing in the world, to be extreme customer centric. And it's only later when I arrived in the real world that I saw that that was quite an exception, how my parents did that. And then I think by coincidence, this customer experience thing came on my, in the river of life, brought me there. And it instantly felt good. And I think it's no coincidence. I think that happened with a reason. And I think that's because of my parents.
Yeah. So you saw a good example.
Yeah.
But when you bought things yourself, you didn't feel that you actually got the same experience everywhere you went.
Yeah, and also when I started to do market research, I saw a lot of unhappy customers with companies. And then indeed, when you move into your first apartment and you need to take care of things yourself, suddenly you have to call to the contact centers, you have to buy something, and then you realize, whoa, why aren't they helping me like my parents are helping their customers? So that was eye-opening for me. That was the real world that showed itself to me at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can relate to that. I think also when you achieve that you can actually spend something more on a car, on a house, or on something in your garden, you do experience it. That actually people that sell you that think it's very normal,
Yeah,
and that they also give you that feeling that it's very normal. And I'm just one of the customers. If I don't buy it, somebody else will. That's the feeling.
Exactly. I remember, Martin. I mean, the people who are listening to this are car dealers. They
It's
own
a car
dealerships.
dealership podcast, car dealership owners, but also marketing departments. Yeah.
If I may, let me tell you a story. In the beginning of my career, I was dreaming to get a certain kind of company car. I was really focused on one brand, and I was looking forward to it for years. And then that moment happened that I could actually afford that car with the budget that I got from my employer back then. So I went straight to the dealership closest to my house, and I walked in, and it was a major disappointment. It was a major disappointment. They didn't take me seriously. You saw them think like, oh, this is some young guy, and he probably can't afford it. So I was back out of that dealership in probably 7 minutes, and it was a real disappointment. So I went to a competitor close to the office where I worked back then, closer to Ghent. And there they listened to my story and they said, oh, okay, that's an interesting company that you work for. And how many people are there? And are you growing? Ah, okay. And do other people also get cars? Ah, interesting. And I stayed there for an hour and a half. I did a test drive. They helped me out. And I felt like a hero at that moment. And I got that car from that dealership. And later on, the company that I worked for, we grew. And I think the 10 years after that, we probably bought 100 cars in that dealership. And the first one who didn't take me seriously, they could have been that one because everyone followed at that point, but they missed that deal because of bad customer experience.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and it's also very important for dealers to look in the mirror to see are we really that great, and what's the experience here. So you mentioned you've written 6 books, of which 3 thrillers, or
No,
you had
6
9
plus
in
3.
total.
9 in
6 plus
total,
3.
yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot. So the first one I read was When Digital Becomes Human. I also really like the title. That's something that really shaped our thinking also, if we look at our business.
Right.
But if you look at the timing of that book, which is actually already out for quite some time, so what inspired you to explore the interaction between technology and humanity so early on?
Yeah, the book came out in 2014, and back then it discussed what the world is talking about today. How automation will change the role of humans in organizations, and what technology can do, and what humans can do. I remember it was based on a trip that we did in Silicon Valley. In 2013, we saw a bunch of companies, 20 companies, and some of them were really well known, like Google and Apple. Some were less known. We saw some thought leaders. And all of those messages for me resonated about these 2 questions. How can we use technology to improve the customer relationship, or other things as well? But I looked at the customer relationship, and what does that mean for the human capital that you have in your organization? And I found that super, super intriguing. And back then, that was already a very hot topic for banks, for instance. That was like the moment that banks started to go into self-service with their mobile apps. The mobile apps became better and better, and banks decided to close down branches back then. So for them, that was a hot topic because of mobile. It wasn't about AI yet. It was about self-service was then a topic, and through our apps we could suddenly install self-service in a better way than before. And because of that, it was a topic that was being discussed back in 2014. Reality is, if you fast forward to 2025, it's still a hot topic today, and I still use a lot of that content today. It's, of course, I renewed a lot of it, but the philosophy behind it, I still work with that today.
Absolutely, but at that time you already mentioned, AI was not really a topic back then. It was more automation and indeed self-service apps, etc. But one of the things I read about, you've posted an article on LinkedIn where you actually were warning companies about the risk of becoming irrelevant if you only focus on internal AI improvements or internal improvements with AI. Can you explain that risk?
Yeah, of course. Every company I go to is working on AI. And now and then I see the AI projects that they're working on. Based on what I see is that 95% of all those projects are internally focused with the objective to increase efficiency and productivity, with a clear goal to lower costs of an organization and to increase the bottom line. That's basically it. And That makes a lot of sense, of course, because AI is a superpower to increase efficiency in organizations. There are many companies today who say, let's not just hire someone, let's see what part of the job can be done through AI, and then we're going to see if we need to hire someone. So that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we have what I call the forgotten side of AI. That's the change in customer behavior. If you look at how people search, how people find information, how people make up their mind to buy something, it's already radically changing today. A lot of people don't go to Google anymore when they start their search. They start on ChatGPT. At a kitchen table debate or a dinner table debate, 2 years ago, when you had an issue with a family member, you said, okay, guys, let's Google it to find out who's right. Today you say, let's ChatGPT it to find out who's right. If you were looking for a hotel for your summer vacation, 2 years ago, you went to booking.com, you said, I'm going to Barcelona these 3 nights. We're a family of 4, and you got your endless lists. Today you say, hey, ChatGPT, we're going to Barcelona. We have 2 teenagers. We like to be in that part of town. This is our budget. This is what we like. This is what we don't like. Do you have 5 suggestions that are in line with what I just described? You get the 5 suggestions, and then you go to Google to do the second part of the search. So you see how behavior is changing. And this will have a big consequence on how we go to market, how we do sales, how we do marketing, because a lot will happen on one platform. Today, this platform is not advertising based. Maybe that will change, but today it's not advertising based. So that means that a lot is happening on a platform that you cannot control. And this is new for a lot of marketing people, because we had control on every other platform. We can advertise on social media. We can do Google AdWords. We can do a whole bunch of stuff. But on the AI platforms, we just have to make sure that the large language model picks up the content that promotes our brand and that recommends our brand. And this is something that is under discussed today in many organizations.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like ChatGPT, the difference is why do people use it? It's very logical. Why do you use an Uber? Because it's so much more efficient. You know where the car driver is, who it is, what their rating is. You walk outside when they are there. It's so convenient. If you order a taxi, it's just a hassle, and you are insecure. You never know if it's your driver picking up somebody or not. So that's an example I use a lot. But indeed, what you now see with ChatGPT, with Google, you ask your question, you get a list of websites where you potentially could find the answer, and you need to start searching. With ChatGPT, you get your answer. Here it is. And even my parents, who are in their 70s, use it instead of Google. And it's not that I steered them towards it. They just do it like that.
They found it.
And so that's a big change in a short time. And even indeed the holidays, we are going to England in the beginning of July with our family of 3 kids, and we did the same. Like, this is the address. Can you recommend activities for the kids? You even get maps, pictures. So it's becoming so much better even than a few months ago. So big change in customer behavior.
It's more like a personal assistant for everything that you value. Like I like to cook. Every time when I'm in the kitchen, I don't use books or websites anymore. I just use ChatGPT as like my sous chef. That's incredible. But my children, maybe it's the same with your children, Martin. Their exams now in Belgium, so they're studying. Like, for instance, their book, their history book is terrible. I mean, it's really, really bad. And then they get these questions. They don't know where to start, so they just talk to ChatGPT. They say, hey, this is my book. Tomorrow I have an exam about these chapters. Can you summarize the essence, and can you make an exam for me that I can test myself? It's a game changer for how they study. They have a study coach now.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So if you look at this topic, so do you then believe that companies are over-investing in the backend efficiency and under-investing in the customer-facing side?
Yeah,
the conclusion?
Absolutely. And I'm pro efficiency increases. Of course, we need to do that. That makes a lot of sense. But there's a lot to be gained on the other side as well. It's not just the fact that it's going to happen on a platform. I'm also on an AI platform. I'm also convinced that word of mouth is going to become more important again, because if we prepare our travel plans on ChatGPT, the output that we get is for 90% that's based on third-party data. So that means that a hotel or an activity for kids, the owner of that place can write a zillion articles on their blog and on social media and do whatever they can. But 90% of the weight that an algorithm like ChatGPT looks for is information that is shared by people who give reviews, by journalists, by articles written by someone else than the owner of the place. So that means, if you think about it, you need to bring a lot of value to customers, hoping, and because of that, you increase the chance that they will actually write something positive about you. Because of those positive reviews, maybe press will pick you up. So there's more third-party content. And because of that, you increase the chance that the LLM will actually recommend you to the future people who are searching for the same kind of activity.
Yeah. So that would be your advice for companies to focus on those kind of reviews that you are picked up by the language models that way.
Yeah, more than ever, you need to make sure that others talk about you, and it can be PR. PR is also good. It can be customers, as long as it's not yourself who's sharing that information is important. So for me, if you ask me what companies need to focus on, they need to create the ultimate convenience for users. Because I look at your Uber example, that's what people go for. We need to think creatively if we can bring new value through AI. And we need to focus on the word of mouth and ambassadorship. Because the first two, they bring value to people, which can increase that word of mouth and experience. And because of that, you become successful and you create your own little customer experience, artificial intelligence flywheel to keep the circle going and to support your own growth by doing so.
Absolutely. Well, great advice. So if you look at all the companies that you visit, that you talk to, can you give a recent example of a company that has embraced AI or perhaps technology in general in a customer-facing way that really impressed you?
Maybe a traditional example, but I think KBC in Belgium is a really good example of that. KBC has won the award of Best Mobile Banking App, I think 3 years in a row now. So a small Belgian bank, it has the best mobile banking app in the world. And the question is, why is that? It's because it's flawless, it's super convenient, but also because it goes beyond banking. They use the platform. They basically created a platform for services that are kind of linked with your financials. If you look at the mobility services that they offer, when you drive into a parking garage, the gate opens up because they know that you're a KBC client. You don't have a ticket, you don't need to pay, you leave, whoosh, the gate opens up again and you pay it automatically. If you park, the app knows where you are and you can just pay your parking ticket in the streets just by a few clicks. It's easier to buy tickets for the railway in Belgium through the app of KBC than it is on the app of the actual brand. So they create this whole ecosystem of services that really blend in together. So for me, that is a fantastic example, and it's one of the most innovative banking platforms in the world. So that's great as a Belgian company.
Yeah, so indeed, not only focus on their part towards that customers, which is only banking, broadening that because it's about payments.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a platform for payments.
Yeah. Well, great example. Thank you. So you also say that we're living through a customer experience renaissance, which I saw lately.
Yeah.
So what's changing so dramatically in this new era?
Well, basically, the things that we talked about before. I think I use this metaphor of the Renaissance because you have the feeling that everything is changing. What we just discussed, sales, marketing, the word of mouth funnel is changing. So you have the feeling that all fundamentals of marketing and customer experience will be different because of AI. That's one side. We discussed that. The other side is that nothing is actually changing, because if you really go to the core of what people appreciate from a company, that has not changed. And sometimes when a new technology comes up and when it's very disruptive, we go on the wave of that technology and we forget the core. And sometimes when there's big disruption, you need to go back to the core as well. And if you look at yeah, if you summarize all research about customer experience, there are basically two dimensions that create that people expect from any kind of brand. It's two things. You need to do what you promise, and you need to make sure that people feel good. That's it. Do what you promise and make sure that people feel good. If you score points on those two, you're a winner. You're a winner. And that's more fundamental than everything I talked about earlier in the whole AI disruption field.
Yeah. But when you're doing something in this AI disruption, you have those two things in mind, which is the core.
Yeah.
Then you're on the right path.
Then you're on the right path. And truth is, of course, now we come back to when digital becomes human, how it makes you feel. In many cases, that's going to be linked to emotions. It's going to be linked to certain energy that you feel. It can be purely technology. You can feel fantastic because of a certain technology. But in many cases, that's where the human connection, the human spirit will pop up. And it's, you can say yes to a client when they ask you a question, and still it can give you a terrible feeling. You can go to a store and you ask something and they say, yeah, okay. Or, of course, Martin, with great pleasure. Yeah, we're super happy that you're here. We're going to take care of things. I mean, one is giving you a feeling like, they weren't really waiting for me. And the other one is like, oh, you feel welcome. And it's that energy transfer, because I don't think we're going to win on empathy. As humans, I think machines will be better at empathy, but an energy transfer between humans, that's something that we're really good at. That's something a machine cannot do. And I think that feel good aspect of customer experience, it's about energy transfer. If people come to you, if people call you, if people write you, make sure that they feel your energy towards them. And that's how you make them feel good.
Hey, before we hop back into this conversation with Martin, imagine an AI communication layer seamlessly connected to your dealership systems. One intelligent platform that gives both your customers and your team instant access to the right information at the right time. Well, that's Nova Co., short for the Nova Company. At its heart is Nova, the AI model behind it all, inspired by the Nova Star. Bright when needed, invisible when not. Just like a good assistant. On your website, Nova appears as the Orb, a glowing, breathing chat bubble that invites customers to ask anything, anytime. But Nova is more than a website assistant. You see, with Nova Companion, she supports your team internally, answering questions using brochures, price lists, stock data, and more. Just instant answers for your team, saving them time and helping them focus on the customer. And with Nova Messaging, she connects with customers on WhatsApp and other channels, managing service updates, follow-ups, and appointment reminders, all in one professional flow. It's pretty cool. And yes, Nova Voice is coming soon, bringing the same intelligence to your phone system and completing the omni-channel experience. You see, customer communication is evolving, but with Nova Co., you're not just adapting, you're setting the pace. Find out more at novaco.ai, that's novaco.ai, and experience what's next. All right, let's get back to Martin.
I agree, but I think also your statement, machines are better in empathy in the future. We can't win on that. That's quite a blunt statement. And because I think when I talk to a lot of car dealers, they actually fear this change because they say, but we're all about personal contact. But what is personal? It's that the person asking a question gets a reply to their person. That's personal. It's not that the other person needs to be, or that the other side needs to be a person. Because in the majority of the time, actually, I think that the AI is better at showing empathy and answering my question than actually a person is who is occupied, who is busy, who doesn't have time for you. But I also have a good example. was actually something we had yesterday. So we are going to the UK on holiday, beginning of July. My wife requested passports. We are actually Dutch and we live in Belgium. So we need to go to one of the border cities in Holland to get a passport. Yeah, Breda, Bergen and so. And so one of my daughters doesn't have a passport yet. So requested one at in Sluis. And I called them yesterday just to ask what the status is, because next week, end of the week, we are going. And they said, yeah, but what's the name of your daughter? So I gave the name. Yeah, I can't find it. But we sent the application to you. We also got a confirmation. Yeah, I can't find it. Are you sure you've got a confirmation? Yeah, we saw that it went through. Yeah, I can't find it. So the only thing you can do is start it up again, the entire process. Okay, but we're going next week. I said, so what should I do? They said, yeah, the waiting time is 6 weeks. So you can't do anything. That's 6 weeks. Okay, but okay, well, she says you can go to the Marechaussee, is like a sort of police at the Eindhoven airport, request a new one. It's an emergency passport. So I called them and they said, yeah, we can give you that, but it doesn't have a chip. So you don't get a ETA for the UK, which you need now. Oh, okay. So that's also not a possibility. So I started calling like different border cities. First one, Breda. And they said, do you know how many people call us every day with this question, sir? So the wait time is 6 weeks and nothing you can do about it. Okay. Next one, Bergen op Zoom. Same story. Do you know how many people call us? Same story. Then I called Bergijk and the lady explained the problem. And she says, you are very lucky. I've just hung up on somebody who canceled their appointment. I'm going to give it to you. And you will enjoy your holiday with your family. On Monday, you're here. On Wednesday, the passport is here. But also the wording, like, you enjoy your holiday. You can go. I think actually she understood the problem.
She was happy. She was happy to help you. She felt your pain and she was happy to help you.
Yeah, so I would actually, the feeling I got was even like, what is Bergijk for kind of city? Perhaps it's nice to move there, but that's exaggerated. But I did think it was really a great service of hers. So we're very happy that we can go.
What a terrible story and what a painful process that you went through. Oh my God.
Yeah, but there I think that actually this energy transfer is difficult with AI in this kind of situations. But the majority of questions that customers have are not this difficult. And are if you're walking the normal path and following the normal trajectory, it's of course more easy.
Yeah, but, and the problem that the misunderstanding is that a lot of companies think the human touch means we're going to put a human there. But if you have to choose between someone who says, do you know how many people call me and it's 6 weeks versus a machine that says, Maarten, here's your file, no problem. This is how we can help you. In these cities, it's too busy, but you can go to that one and they will help you. I mean, you know what you would choose at that point. Placing a physical human there doesn't mean that you're good in the human touch. And that's the same thing with car salespeople. It's not because you are a human that is in a physical location that you're good in connecting with people. Those are two different things. And that's what we need to understand. Just being present is not going to be enough to be better in experience than a chatbot. It's going to be that energy transfer, the fact that you feel understood, the fact that you feel that they like to help you. That's what the human touch is.
Absolutely. And if you now look at the customer expectation side, like I think that if you look at customer behavior, it has changed, as you said. That means that perhaps like there's a new baseline expectation that customers have from a company. So in your view, what is the new baseline expectation, regardless of any industry?
What people expect is a good service and a good product. That's the minimum. I mean, that's not how you win. That's what people expect related to your brand. If you go to the UK with KLM, you expect a certain kind of product quality. If you choose to go with Ryanair, you expect a certain product quality. It's going to be different than KLM, but you expect that. You expect them to deliver upon the promise of their product quality. That's one minimum demand that people have. The second one today is digital convenience and convenience in general. People know today that certain systems exist that things can happen in a fluent, non-painful way if you invest in that as an organization. And today there is some sort of a zero tolerance for digital inconvenience. There's a zero tolerance for inconvenience in general. If people become angry if they are not helped in an efficient way. You don't win on convenience anymore. You lose if you don't have it. And those two, your product promise and your convenience levels, that's the minimum demand today.
Absolutely. And also when people experienced a certain way of working somewhere, you expect that everybody can do that, which is in fact also true. If people embrace the new technologies, you can really improve your customer service.
Yeah, but the inflation of expectations increase rapidly. You have inflation and expectations like this. 2 weeks ago, I flew to Lithuania, to Vilnius, to give a talk there. And on the flight from Amsterdam to Vilnius, I flew with Air Baltic. The crew proudly announced that they were the first airline in Europe that had Starlink internet on board. And I know that we're no big fans of Elon anymore, but I can tell you Starlink internet is a game changer. That I was streaming like I was in my living room. I could do this podcast, maybe not with the noise in the plane, but I could do this podcast from the plane. The quality of the streaming was so good. It was. I did a video call home. It was amazing. So fantastic experience and completely for free. So the next day I flew back with Air Baltic. So I was looking forward to be online the whole time. Not a word on Starlink. So apparently it's not in all their planes yet. And instantly a small disappointment. Small disappointment. So the inflation of expectations goes really fast.
Yeah, usually. But then they gave you some quiet time, which is also sometimes nice.
That's also very nice. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, we're going to have fantastic internet on board. So they're going to steal that last moment of being offline in the world away from us, because the moment that it's available, you go online. It's stronger than yourself. It's terrible.
Absolutely. So, but when you look at this AI, who gets a more prominent position within customer service and customer contact, how do you actually avoid it for turning brands into emotionless utilities?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. At a certain moment, if AI does what it promises us, then terrible customer service should disappear from the world, because terrible customer service is very often linked to communication, bad communication or no communication or too late communication. That's easy to solve with AI. But the thing is that the quality levels will go up, so expectations will go up. And what we're going to see is that probably we're going to have a boost in average quality service. It's not going to be bad anymore, but it's going to be average quality. And this is going to be a challenge for a lot of companies. So if you look at it from a 0 to 10 point scale on customer happiness, AI will remove the 0 to 6. But there is a chance, because it's going to be so accessible, it's going to be so easy to go to that average quality, that we're probably going to lose the 9 and 10 as well. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of organizations, that they understand that we need to go beyond that and not just rely on the AI, because that is what everyone else will do. And it will soon become mediocre, boring, and you will only lose if you don't have it, but it will become a minimum demand rapidly. So thinking about how can we still get the 9 and 10, and how can we differentiate ourselves in this world of automation, it's going to be very important.
So in your world, because I think actually what you are thinking way ahead, perhaps, of than many people are thinking. Like in many people's mind, it's like, okay, should we do something with AI? Should we not do it? In your world, everybody will have it, and you already need to think the next step. If everybody has that, and that's the new normal, what will then be your game changer? How will you be different compared to everybody who will have it? Because you're convinced that everybody will have it. Is that how we could summarize that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, I talked about how I've been in this field for 25 years. So in the beginning, I was studying how people use websites and how that influences them for decision-making and purchases. Then we had social media. Then we had mobile. And all of them changed behavior and expectations. And eventually, every company had to follow. I think that AI is the big one because it goes much deeper than the three earlier ones. The three earlier ones, like internet, social media, mobile, are more about communication and user interfaces. AI touches upon every aspect of your business, both internally and externally, and every aspect can be disrupted. The flow, the processes can be completely changed. So, in my opinion, this is the big one. And if you don't think about this now, you're missing the learning curve. And the learning curve is critical to make the right choices a few years from now.
Oh, interesting. So if we look at the topic of this podcast is of course a car dealership podcast, where car dealers are also working on innovation, customer contact, how should it look like in the future. So imagine that you are advising a dealer group with 30 locations, for example. What would be your top 3 priorities for their transformation as a car dealer?
Yeah, good question. I had the pleasure before to work for a few car dealerships and do sessions with them. So that was always really fun. My priority for them is what happens in the car dealership, and focus on that unique. They still have that unique moment that people have to come. Maybe not to buy a car in the future, but if they have to do maintenance, if they have service updates, if the car is broken down, people physically have to come there, because that's how you fix the car. That's a unique thing that other companies don't always have. And the moment someone steps into your door, that's the moment that the experience begins. And really focusing on that, on making that something that people feel good, keeping the promise and making people feel special, understood. That would be for me priority one. And think about, okay, how are we going to do this with a sales moment? How will we do this with a service moment? How will we do this when someone picks up the car they bought? Those are like the 3 moments of truth for me. How can we work with those 3? That would be my first priority. Second priority is that I would think about how can we become more accessible? How can we support our customers 24/7? Today, I don't know if most brands have that. I think most premium brands have that you have like a 24/7 car breaking down hotline so that you can call them, and then wherever you are, no matter what moment of the day, they will come out and help you. Like with my car brand, I had that at a certain moment. I had to call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and apparently it was super busy, and we had to do wait at a shady place somewhere for 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the middle of the night in heavy rain. It was terrible, and no communication whatsoever. And maybe that's something that the overall brand is taking care of. But imagine as a car dealership, at the moments of truth, when someone is in doubt, you can be available 24/7 with questions and support. And that's where AI comes in. Imagine that you have a support system that people can ask questions. Sometimes it's small things, like my parents, sometimes their navigation system in their car breaks down and they have to go to the dealership, and then they do a reset by pushing a few buttons and so on. I had it as well. Last time I asked ChatGPT, I took a picture of my car, said this is the make and model, it's from this year. How do I do a reset? Because I know in the shop they can do a reset, but I don't find it. And then ChatGPT told me, but you could do this as a car dealership, like the quick wins, the quick fixes, so that people don't have to come, that you offer support through the knowledge and the data that you have. That could be a unique service kind of a service level that you bring to them.
Connecting the virtual assistant to your data, your knowledge of the cars that you sell, and including manuals of cars that you've sold in the past, so that when people have connection problems with their iPhone or with resetting something, that you have someone there 24/7 to answer that question.
Yeah, and that someone there is AI then, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's not a human on the phone. It's
No.
Peugeot GPT, or it's Nissan GPT, Mercedes GPT.
Virtual employee.
Yeah, or the Martin Becker's car dealership virtual support, something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. So in the car dealership, the physical world in the car dealership is 1. 2 was more accessible, so the 24/7. Do you also have a third thing that you would think about with car dealers?
Asking yourself what you could do in a gentle way to make sure that third parties will post data about you. without pushing, without being too pushy, but figuring out how to do that. First of all, if you increase the experience levels, there's a higher likelihood that people will talk about you and write positive reviews. But you can motivate them. You can ask them at a certain moment, not every single time, but at an important moment when you think you did well, you can ask them, and maybe 1 out of 20 people will actually do it. But if you have 30 car dealerships, that's a lot of people, and that increases your chances to be found and to be recommended by the AI platforms.
Yeah, exactly. So do you believe that like the physical showroom that we know today, where you will walk in, you look at cars, perhaps I'd always compare it a bit with, I would expect, actually I like walking into an Apple shop, because then you can experience, it's like, and I would actually expect the same from a showroom. It's more, it's becoming more a computer on wheels, which is for actually a tech-savvy person. It's also nice, or it's connected. I can do this and that with that car. But cars are not really sold in that way. So, but if you look at the physical showroom, how we see it today, do you think it will still matter in 10 years? Or do you think that the showroom should transform to another form, like an experience hub or something else?
Well, when e-commerce became successful, we said it's going to kill shops, and it killed a few shops, but it did not kill shopping. People, what we learn is that even though we have all these online experiences, people like to shop. It's a social thing, it's a family thing, it's a hobby. It's part of what we like to do. So people like to go to places and experience things, and that will never change. Even with AI, maybe we're going to save a few hours every week, and that could even lead to us going more out and going shopping more often. So I'm convinced that 10 years from now, we'll still love to go to a dealership to check out some cars. And yes, probably it has to be more like an experience center where people can, see the power, experience the power. Like you said, an Apple store is a good example. That's going to be interesting, but I'm super convinced that people will still go to a showroom 10 years from now.
Okay. Do you see tools like WhatsApp or like AI assistants playing a major role in service and after sales as well?
Yeah, absolutely. WhatsApp is a very good question. I recently joined an advisory board of a company called Get in Touch. It's a Belgian startup that is actually really focusing on that, installing professional WhatsApp communication platforms for companies. And everything that is event driven is super convenient. Like, there's something wrong with your car, we make an appointment, you have a question, is it ready yet? All these basic questions that come through WhatsApp and very easy to communicate with. There's an AI layer that some basic questions are answered automatically. Some others may need some human support. But WhatsApp is an underused channel for that kind of things. I don't think WhatsApp works for commercial messages. We shouldn't start to use WhatsApp like we use email, because then people will not look into it anymore. But like in this company that I mentioned, Get in Touch, the opening rate of those messages are more than 90%, because people know this is going to be relevant because it's linked to a certain event, and then they want to know, then they love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're also experiencing that at the moment. We're building it with Novaco, a company that I founded, where I'm also the CEO. We offer virtual assistants for car dealers on their website, but we're also now adding that to WhatsApp, and we see that that you
Very
can
smart.
actually make service booking, showrooms booking, trade-in requests. You can take pictures of your trade-in with image recognition. You can see the condition of the car. So it's really, and if you look at the conversation, it's so quick, detailed, and nice for the customer. And it takes zero time spent from the dealer when they receive the booking. And
Fantastic.
if I look at it, I would actually really expect that WhatsApp will have more volume in these kind of conversations than your website. But indeed, if you talk about commercial, like you want to buy something, then you want to see something, you'll go to a website normally to experience a product.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's different. It's different use cases. So WhatsApp is event driven, and a website or a visit is more experience driven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have two more questions,
Okay.
and then we'll round up the podcast.
Okay.
So, what is your one belief about the future of customer relationships that most businesses still underestimate?
That everything will change and that nothing will change. You know, it's what we talked about before. There's so much disruption coming because of AI. But I believe companies that go to the core, do what you promise, make people feel good, I think those will be the winners, especially if they add a little AI layer around that. The ones that understand the core of the customer relation, they will be the winners.
Yeah. So don't forget the core, but also if you don't act, a lot will change because
absolutely.
you're not.
Everything changes and nothing changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, perfect. So it's been very interesting. And if people were listening and want to follow you and follow your work and learn more, what's the best way for them to do so?
I share a lot of LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I cannot connect anymore with people on LinkedIn because I reached some sort of a maximum that LinkedIn installed. But you can follow me on LinkedIn. I post a lot on Instagram. Now and then I share something on TikTok. I have a big YouTube channel with a lot of content there, many videos of full keynotes and so on. So that's youtube.com/Steven van Belleghem. And if they want to get in touch with me, LinkedIn messages work well, or through my website, there you can contact me as well.
Perfect. Well, it's been very interesting. Thank you for sharing your insights and being a guest on the podcast. And I will also myself keep on following you and get some more inspiration on what we can do for car dealers. So thank you very much.
Fantastic, Martin. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the invite. Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.